All right, guys, day 25, and get excited because today we're doing another day on my favorite topic, mindset. So today we're going to be talking to somebody who I've been following for a really long time, and I really consider him as one of the best mindset educators out there, and specifically to CrossFitters, okay? Because this guy he understands it. You know, he is a CrossFitter himself, but he's come to this transition and has a lot of unique perspectives. What I love about Scott McGhee is that he speaks from experience and as a way of relating to the avid CrossFitter. He's a family man, a full-time police officer, and runs a very enlightening podcast that is guaranteed to turn you into a more fulfilled, happier person consistently. His messages have helped me get through my own battles and think about, fitness and my circumstances differently. And I'm hoping that he's going to be able to do the same for you. So I can't wait for you to hear his unique perspectives when it comes to making fitness something feel truly fun and a celebration rather than an obligation. So some of my favorite lessons were how depression, drinking, and poor shape was the best thing for him, was the best lesson. Why CrossFitters feel like they have such a hard time letting go and sitting still. What he did to start enjoying his workouts more. The gigantic sign you should start meditating. The one thing to start doing today to start living a more fulfilled life. I love this episode so much, and I hope you do too. Be sure to follow Scott and connect with him using the Instagram links below.
I think I've been listening to you for a long time. I don't know, for a couple of years, it seems like, that I thought that was a long time, but I've just always been really intrigued with your your mindset and the way you look at things. And I'm curious, I don't really know much about your, kind of what brought you to the point, your perspective today. And, but I'm very curious about what your journey's been like, because I think it's very similar to the journey that I've been on, as far as just taking a more, I don't know what to call it, like a stoic approach, or, Taoism type approach, like just letting go and going with the flow and being kind to yourself and others and stuff. So what this project is all about is for CrossFit women that are trying to outwork and work really hard to look fit and kind of have everything, their lives dialed perfectly, but they are creating this sort of box life of having to obsess over the gym or food, and not realizing that if they just let go of this idea of having to constantly go and work harder, that things would actually start to just fall into place.
It seems really easy, right?
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean? Letting go?
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You just let it go.
Just let it go. Just chill out.
If someone knew exactly how to get that to happen for people,
yeah,
it would be people would be lining up at the door. But the problem is really it's a two-step process, I think. Because obviously I'm still completely learning all this stuff as well.
I think we all are. Yeah.
And I fall off my own path. I get back on. I'm on for a while. I fall off. I get back on. And I think that, to start, I think that should be something that's discussed, and that is that type of space. And then no single person is perfectly on the path. Mm-hmm. But even, with nutrition, but to back it up, thank you for the support and for listening.
Oh yeah. I love what you're putting out there. And I think people, they need to hear more of it. I think right now it's almost like, I feel like what people need is the education, on other people's journey, and just hearing people like you, how you just think almost, and so that we can start to train ourselves to think differently, because we only know the way that we've been sort of trained to think. And for most of us, especially CrossFitters, they're just so driven and just go.
Yeah. And how do you change, or how do you get someone to think about something that, you know, they don't even realize is there, right?
Right.
Like, how do you change someone's mind or get someone to see something beyond what they think they already know?
Right.
You know, and that part's tough. And I've also learned that you can't force it,
Yeah.
right? You can't force it. So, but really, it goes back to a two-step process. Um, and the first one is self-awareness.
Uh-huh.
Now, if somebody isn't aware, then how can they fix something?
Right.
Or how can they create change? So you have self-awareness, and then once someone has self-awareness, then they can learn to self-regulate. And that goes with, I mean, that goes with everything. That goes with, you know, let's talk about nutrition. If someone's eating food that they don't know is bad for them, you teach them, oh my gosh, that food is bad for you. Okay, now what? And then you teach them how to regulate that.
Right.
But it goes back, if someone isn't aware, then they can't create change and regulate or make better choices for themselves, or even see a predicament that they're in.
Right. That's so true.
And then the other
Especially when
component.
go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm going to change the topic.
Oh, I was just going to say, especially when you change, you tie your identity to it. It's very hard to think yourself as any other way.
And that is a gigantic topic in of itself, right? Is identity. So, like, quick story. I played football most of my life, and I played in college, and that is, at that point in time, a gigantic part of my identity. So part of this journey that kind of bumped me towards the way I am was I had a pretty devastating, well, I had some hamstring issues. And the hamstring it's really not about the hamstring, right? It's the hamstring was just what wrapped the actual gift. And then I blew it out pretty bad and had to miss a season. And for a while was blaming the trainers. I was like blaming like everyone I could that didn't help me figure out how to take care of my own leg. And so then I had this like epiphany that it's up to me. Like right now, this is my leg. This is my opportunity. I'm either gonna get it better or it's gonna get worse. And I'm putting it in a small nutshell, but to see that opportunity that I had through something that's bad, right? Good, bad. I mean, I don't know. That's up to each person, but I usually decide now to look at something like that as good. Like everything is an opportunity. And so I use that opportunity to come back, you know, stronger and faster than I ever was before. But prior to that, it cracked my identity, and I wasn't traveling with my buddies. I wasn't on the team. I was just in the trainer's office, and I got pretty depressed. Got to the point where I was drinking like three Miller High Lifes, even before going out, 3 30-ounce Miller High Lifes because they were cheap down the street at the liquor store. And then just sunk. I started getting out of shape and drinking alcohol all the time. And I realized it was because of that crack in identity. It was like, if I'm not playing football, then who am I?
Right, exactly.
And at that time, I started going to AA meetings for injured athletes, which I didn't even know those existed.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then there were soccer players there, basketball players, and kind of going through the same process. And it's not just about sports, right? It's just a crack in an identity that you have decided to attach yourself to. Right. So that kind of started bumping me towards like this journey that I've been on. And I did a bunch of research. I learned about nutrition. I was doing like the 39-cent cheeseburger days at McDonald's and the 29-cent hamburger days. I didn't know about nutrition or hydration or training or mobility or anything like that. So that was a fantastic lesson wrapped up in adversity for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a good lesson, learning about identity, who I am, who I want to be, who I'm going to be, and then making sure that was in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
It was up to me.
Mm-hmm. And how did that change? Like, what did you come to realize that who you wanted to be and who you were?
I mean, maybe some people have a super clear image or moment. That part wasn't super clear for me. And I think the overall, like whether I was trying to make the CrossFit Games or I was trying to be the best football player I could be or whatever, or even now, being in law enforcement, I always tell people, I don't identify as any of that stuff. I identify as a good man. And that is my primary identity. And so it helps me stay centered. Because if I start falling off on any other aspect, it still comes back to like, am I healthy? Am I a good father? Can I run alongside of them when they're riding their bikes? Can I pick them up off the ground if they're crying? And that type of stuff. And am I minimizing the opportunities of where I could help people? I mean, I'm sorry, maximizing those opportunities and trying to minimize the opportunities. You know, there are those like little moments where you could have helped somebody and like you missed it or you didn't help them or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to minimize those.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're on that path now. You're starting to really feel like how powerful and how enabling it is once you start realizing like you're not the center point. Like you can move yourself off center a little bit and you have a different perspective on people and community and what you can do and how rewarding that is. It's far greater than, in my opinion, than any individual accolade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So but that story, that like right there is part of what like started bumping me towards a path of, you know, to quote my friend Marcus Aurelius Anderson, that adversity is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And then using it, you know, you can use that stuff as wind in your sail, or you can use it as an anchor and stay stuck and sad there for as long as you choose.
Mm-hmm. And what was your belief before this sort of epiphany?
I just wasn't asserting myself properly. I was way too comfortable with mediocrity, and it was safe. It was a safe place to be, and I say that not necessarily in comparison to others. I say it in comparison to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could I have done a little bit more? Could I study a little more? Could I understood the parts where I should have done less? Right? That's a big one.
Yeah. And what do you mean by that? And what does that pertain to? If you could have done less?
Well, I think this little piece here isn't really taught to us. Maybe it is in some cultures, but there are two sides to the coin on how we operate. And let's just take CrossFit, right? CrossFit is very action oriented, right? We're in that fight or flight, right? And you're all go, 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 go. And you tend to be in the sympathetic nervous system all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, even the autonomic nervous system has two components to it. So you're in fight or flight. So picture working out, go, go, go. A lot of people take like pre-workout or caffeine, and then you play loud music and you get hyped up and and then you're working out really hard. And then a lot of times you get in traffic, you're driving to the gym. To get there on time is stressful. Your workout is stressful. Then you have to drive home is stressful. And then all the other things that pop up in someone's life is stressful. Like even checking to see how many likes you got on social media can be stressful for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And so stressful, stress, go, 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 go. But there's the other side of the coin. And in my opinion, is at a minimum, at least the same size. And that is the non-action. and down regulating and getting into that parasympathetic state and treating that just as important. It's easy to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people have a hard time sitting still.
Mm-hmm. Did you?
Oh, in the beginning, no, like years ago, no. I was intuitive of it, but I didn't like, it wasn't something I treated like, train hard, study, at least 10 minutes of meditation. That like sitting still is nothing, because I'd never been exposed to it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, I had no awareness of it, that it was even a tool. But now I realize it, and I see how important it is, because it slows down our monkey minds.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps our identity. And the way I look at meditation, and meditation sometimes has like, people have their own like attachment to
Right.
what that word means. So it's just, I'm throwing the word out meditation because it's a symbol, but really just slow down, be still, and go in. But it's like a two-step process, right? And it's the intuitive parts, being aware of your thoughts, and then surrendering.
Mm-hmm. What made
And
you want to start doing that? To start slowing down and sit still? Like, because it's when you make that switch, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. So you've got to have a reason to want to do it.
Well, awkward is your word, right?
Yeah.
So even stating it's awkward is probably one, stating, you're making it sound like it's fact, but it's not. I think it's awkward not to do it.
True.
And because if it's awkward or difficult, that is a gigantic sign that you need to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And in order to, regulate your emotions, you have to learn how to stabilize your attention. So that doesn't necessarily only mean meditation. It could be breath work, could be, for me, I just started playing the ukulele. Whatever you can do to stabilize your attention helps regulate your emotions. And it's really easy. That's the funny thing. You're doing nothing.
Yeah, I know. It's just so funny because, like, I'm a nutrition coach, and women will want to do everything. And then I had the first week, all we do is go for a walk, and they flip out. They go crazy a bit. They have a hard time just going for a walk, because I'm not even going to have them sit still yet. Like, we're going to at least move.
See, yeah, okay, so then you sneak it in on the walk.
Yeah, exactly. I sneak it in on a walk.
Like there's a whole mindful walking practice.
Exactly.
Right. And even, if you've been listening to my podcast, you'll know I probably talk about noticing things a lot and being completely present in the moment. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that can't even fully describe the colors of the tree in front of their house.
Yeah.
Or even what other trees are around, the shapes of them, what kind of birds are in their neighborhood, what are the actual sounds, what the landscape looks like. Because we walk and we're always in a hurry, and we look down and we're rushing.
Right. Or at the phone these days. Yeah.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm there. I'm here.
All right. Froze.
Oh, there we go. I'm good, right? On my end. Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, even going for a walk, we're in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we're doing it for time or for steps. Like, I just got to get this 10,000 steps in.
Yeah, I'd turn that off.
Yeah. I mean, so first off, what made you want to turn that off? Like, what, What made you want to slow down? And then how did you actually start doing that?
Well, part of like even having a regular meditation practice comes and goes for me. So, and I don't have a very, very acute memory of when that exactly started. But I can talk about some things recently, and that has been, part of a someone that's in law enforcement. People tend to forget that we're exposed to the worst parts of human behavior over and over and over on a daily basis, especially in patrol as first responders. Chronic stress, acute and chronic stress and trauma all the time. And the worst, like anything that you can think of, like whatever the worst parts happen, somebody has to go deal with it. So even like the death notifications or all the child stuff that you can think of. I don't even want to list the things that some of those things because I don't want it to affect other people.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff adds up. And then the stress of family. And I say I love my family, I love my kids, but it's still stressful, right? It's not like I get to come home and have a cup of tea and do some yoga and meditate and read. No, it's like game on, stress, there's sports, there's coaching, there's all kinds of stuff going on. And so I felt almost like I could almost hear a noise. Like if I sat still, I almost had like this ringing in my ear. And if you sit still enough, for a lot of people, you sit still and you pay attention, you can notice it.
Yeah.
It's like cloudy, murky, muddy water. And I realized I needed to clean it up because I was too stressed. Like I could feel it. You could feel it almost in your scalp,
Yeah.
right? In your eyes and above your temples. And there's all a bunch of places that we carry stress. And so again, having the self-awareness and then understanding that I need to self-regulate that and clean it up. And to me, that became just as important as any workout.
Yeah.
Because it transcended every part of my life.
Were you in a certain amount of pain and suffering in order for you to want to, take on a new activity like that, to prioritize that?
Well, I think it's safe to say that we all are suffering at some point. Always. There's always that like suffering. Even I don't know if I've ever had a moment in my life where I'm like, I have nothing at all that's causing me any grief or discomfort. There's always gonna be something. But you can minimize it and use that better. It doesn't have to define you. You can have awareness of it and understanding of it, but it doesn't have to control you. So like if you notice you're being short with somebody, you're being short all the time, you're being moody, you're being grumpy. Yeah, it could be your macros, I don't know. But there's other stuff going on, and that spending 5 or 10 minutes being still and focusing on your breath might be able to alleviate that for you. In my opinion, it also helps you see you're looking in, right? And so you might find a clear path for you. You might realize that the snatch you missed at the gym doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Or yeah, worthy, unworthy.
No, yeah. That
Yeah.
really doesn't define you at all.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Just being in the moment, even being able to stand next to a barbell is a gift. I know a lot of people that can't do that, even stand next to a barbell, let alone set the weight up on the bar or even have the hands and thumbs to even hook grip. Or even be in a gym that has a roof on it and air conditioning. Can't afford it. So there's all kinds of gifts and blessings all around. So just the fact that you can miss a snatch is an unbelievable gift.
How did you start making what was your first step to trying to slow down the mind, still the mind, and create that space?
It can happen in one breath. If you bring your attention to your breath, one breath is a practice. Like even like for anyone watching this or even you, this is a really simple example. When you inhale, that is a sympathetic response. It's like it's a fight or flight response. For example, if you scare somebody, what do? Right? Is it mouth breath in, big chest comes up, it's a panic response.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So being aware of that and having some self-awareness so you can self-regulate it. So the exhale is the good stuff. The exhale is where the calm is. The exhale is the parasympathetic response. Mm-hmm. So I call it the 1-2 breath. So let's just say you take a 4-count inhale through your nose and an 8-count exhale through your nose. Doesn't take long. No one even has to know that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Just try it right now and see how the exhale feels.
Yeah, it's very nice.
See,
very relaxing.
That's one breath.
Yeah.
But that's my point. That was one breath.
Okay. And that's what you started with.
That's all it takes.
And then how did you make that such a priority that you did it throughout your day, that you, prioritized it, committed to it? Because it's just so easy to be distracted.
It is, but I don't even allow that language because distraction, right? That's taking me off my goals. Mm-hmm. So I don't even like to call distraction easy because now I'm empowering it. Now I'm like saying it's okay to be a victim to distraction. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's in your control. So, you're taking.
Like distraction, it can be attractive if that's what you want to be attracted to. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? So being very clear about where you're going, what you want is going to be very key so that
what you want, like, what do you want? Like, who is in charge of your freedom? Who's in charge of you? Who, like, you are. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that right back there?
Yeah, a little bit. I can't read it though.
It says temet nosce. It's Latin and it means know thyself. And I don't just mean like know yourself, but I mean like, who are you? What is important to you? What do you want to be?
Hey guys, just wanted to pop in here real quick. I've been talking to so many women lately, and the one thing that just keeps coming up for them is finances. So I listened and I've created a super affordable small group coaching program to get you unstuck without breaking the bank. Every 90 days, I launch a new group program of 20 like-minded ladies or less, and I coach them through this exact steps to losing fat and building muscle without having to kill themselves in the gym or obsess over food. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at natalie.newhart to stay up to date on when the next group kicks off, or just send me an email to claim your spot in the next group. All right, guys, back to the show.
So for one, understanding the other side of the coin and being able to empower myself to find those moments of peace and relaxation and clarity helps me regulate and control stress. Because stress is such a gigantic killer. It literally kills us.
Yeah.
You know, stress kills you. It raises your blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke. Majority of the main things that especially Americans die of is stress. It's not even not working out. There are a lot of people that live a long time that don't work out, that don't work out for time, right? Mm-hmm. Those type of, even a CrossFit workout by its very nature is stressful. You're just stepping on the gas a little bit. So if someone's in a constant state of high stress, the dose is downshifting, downregulating, and then being okay with it. And then once, the better you get at that, the more you realize that you don't need to have your foot on the gas all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of ways I do it. Like I've made tricks with myself. So when I stop at a red light, I've changed my breath pattern, but if I get stopped at a red light, I bring my attention to my breath, and I either do the 1-2 breathing or I do box breathing. So even that helps me cope with being at a red light. You know, same thing if I'm in an elevator. There are a bunch of these little opportunities, these little like micro meditations, as I've called them.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a big component of why I started doing those ice baths in my chest freezer. That's just a gigantic test of character for one, but it's also super highway of downshifting. Even though you're upshifting, but you're downshifting as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cold showers are great.
So I can tell, like, exactly, I feel like you have a really good understanding of who you are and what you want. And so I'm curious, first off, like how do you align yourself with that? Like, do you check in with yourself every single day? Do you have any rituals to just make sure that you are super clear and focused on your path, and just so you make sure that you always have like this reminder? Is there anything that you do?
Well, a couple things, because it's not that clear for me, for one. Like even with the Sisu way, I don't have an episode that comes out every week. I don't put that stress on me.
Mm-hmm.
Or even every 2 weeks or every month. It's because I want to make sure that is something that doesn't become a stress for me. It's something that's supposed to be good. It's a passion thing. It's a connection thing. It's something I'm leaving for the next generation. It's a beautiful little concept that I really enjoy doing, that I'm not allowing to shift over into becoming anything stress related.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing with whatever someone chooses to do. Like if exercising
Mm-hmm.
is something you do for fun, it makes you feel good, then make sure you don't deviate from that.
Mm-hmm.
If your time is slow, okay, great. It's one day out of 365 and it doesn't mean anything. You have the opportunity to go do it. If anything, laugh at it.
Yeah, that's so true.
So stick to your why.
Yeah. So you got to know your why. I think that's the thing,
Yeah.
is people think that they want this, right? But they're doing something completely different. They're following the crowd because everybody else is just going hard, and for time they think that's what they should do. But what they really, a lot of them really want is just to look fit and have fun.
Yep. So the 4-time thing, right? So cranking up intensity and then measuring it is important, and it has its place, but not every single day. My buddy Kenny Kane at Oak Park CrossFit LA has seen this coming for a long time. And the way he does his programming, he has an intensity, like a competition intensity day, but then there's like the mental strength day.
Oh.
And he has like, you come in for a CrossFit and you're doing yoga.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a fantastic algorithm. I would jump on his blog and hit him up if you have questions about it. But I learned to stop like paying attention to the clock. Here's an example of when I started getting into my ice bath. I would always time it. Now, getting into an ice bath, that's not about the ice. It could be getting into whatever it is. It could be getting into Fran, or getting into Helen, or getting into a competition, whatever it is. It's just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to get in and I used to time it, and then I'd try. What do you think? What do you think happened the next day?
You had to beat it.
I had to, right? It was that.
Yeah.
So then it became now this thing that I'm using to as something I'm completely in the moment of. Now I'm pushing myself, and it's become a stressful thing. I'm trying to beat my time, and that's what it became about, the clock.
Yeah.
And so I stopped timing it, and if I stop timing it, now I'm actually enjoying it. Now I'm actually in the moment, appreciating the feeling of it, focusing on my breath, and just being completely present.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where the good stuff is. That's where I really start to celebrate the whole, health is wealth, having the ability and the gift of movement. And I try and get this message across to people in a lot of different ways. Another example is I've asked people to envision themselves as an 85-year-old. Like, literally, picture you're 85 years old. Well, let's just say you're in a rocking chair and you can't eat your yogurt because your hand is shaking so much. You want to get up and go get the paper or something, but you can't because that's too difficult. And all the other things that comes around with being 85 years old. Now, snap, go back to your present self. Like, what would my 85-year-old self do and feel and say if he can go back to his 40-year-old self that I am now? I'd frolic about. I would frolic, right? I'd run and play with my kids. I'd play frisbee. We play dodgeball. Like, we do all kinds of goofy stuff. I'd be in a bounce house with them. I would be like jumping air squats. Look at me. I can lunge. I can do lunges. Right? And then having that type of celebration and reward, you're getting a reward, but you're also not getting the chronic stress that comes with labeling myself based on a clock.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to being, who am I? I'm a good man and I'm a dad. It's number 1 and 2.
Do you work out on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would you suggest CrossFitters who love that environment start to focus less on the clock and the score and just appreciate the movement more?
Well,
because the environment isn't really conducive for it.
No, but getting someone to be, unfortunately, for a lot of people, that type of awareness comes through some suffering. Whether it's an injury or death or like, it's unfortunate that that's like that passage you have to go through to find a huge appreciation for what you still have, or what you get to have. And being reminded of it. I don't know, like, even this hand, I was just teaching my 4-year-old this morning about how amazing his hand was, and to bring his attention to his hand and pointing out this opposable thumb and what it allows him to get to do, and bringing him into like understanding how cool it is to have a hand that works. I don't know if you ever hurt your hand or not being able to use it, but pun intended, it really comes in handy. And life changes when you lose something as simple as the use of your thumb here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've been through some nasty stuff, that has kind of force-fed me an opportunity to see things in a different light, to see the good.
Okay.
And some people that haven't faced anything, any huge adversity, I think take things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that's how it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's a particular way. or massive disappointment or failure. I mean, that's the weird thing. Adversity and experience is the best gift of education.
True. And
I
have you like been able to, again, sort of just find ways to condition yourself to be more grateful, be more appreciative? Have you, you know, any, like, cause it takes training if you're not used to it. So, is there anything that you've done for training wise?
Oh yeah, this, like I said, even this is not something that you get on this path and you're perfect.
Yeah.
It takes work. It takes work. You got to work.
Yeah.
And but whatever you do, that's what you become. And so it gets easier if you're constantly creating a habit.
Yeah.
So let's just say a negative thought pops up in your head. If you're aware, and this is where awareness comes in, if you're aware of it, kind of I ask yourself, is this a fact or a feeling? That usually answers where your next thought goes. And then follow it up with at least 3 things that you're grateful for. Or just talking about things that you're grateful for. And making that become a habit. Like if you start talking, I'll tell you, like gratitude is the most healing power there is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can shift like that, which is just so cool.
Yeah. Like right now, what are 3 things you're grateful for?
Being on this interview, got a roof over my head. I've got a great place. I mean, I'm grateful for so much.
Right?
Yeah.
And now you can, so that even being grateful for things can change, because then you can even think of like, take away stuff. What are you grateful for?
My health, my boyfriend, my experiences, adversity.
This is what I mean. This is how simple it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Just
and then you decide
what you focus on.
Yeah.
What you put your attention on.
This is why I always say strength is a choice. Like you get to choose this. You can choose to talk about things to be grateful for. Like whatever type of lens you decide to wear is up to you. Even the way you look at bad things, like that, how you decide to look at it and use it and feel about it is up to you. Right? I'm grateful right now for my opposable thumb. And then I can see color. And that I can get out of bed without pain. Like I can wake up and just stand up right now. That's awesome. I don't know if you've ever lost that opportunity to have that.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. See, even getting out of the car or like being able to go number 2 comfortably and then get off the toilet and just go about my day. And I mentioned earlier about the kids, like my back has been messed up where I couldn't pick up my kid. Now I can pick them up and pick them both up. And that is way more cool than anything I've ever put on a barbell. Like, you know?
Yeah, you know what, I think that the gym is really a incredible place that you can train that repetition, you know, like before my workouts, I'll usually sort of decide on how I want to feel. And sometimes it's just gratitude, or maybe it's love or joy or power or whatever. But if I choose gratitude, like you can literally like just practice feeling good, you know, that, and just think of and it just, once you start, it just sort of, you know, continues on into, you start thinking of everything. And it's just like, you can practice that repetition.
But also remember, humans are addicted to suffering. And then we also support each other in staying in that suffering area. So imagine you went to the gym And let's just say, like, I want you to go to the gym today, like it's a playground, and your goal is to go have fun. Like, I don't care about your score or weight. I want to go to the gym and have fun.
Yeah. Sounds awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
But every day can be like that.
Yeah. So why do so many people see that see it as a chore sometimes, or like have a hard time going? Like right now we're in quarantine, so a lot of people are having a hard time getting themselves to work out at home.
Well, it goes, people have their own intrinsic and extrinsic motivations, right? So motivation to do something changes for certain people. Like, I'm able to work out by myself because I have intrinsic motivation. And I can, most of the time, even if I have a silly workout, like, I laugh about it. It's okay. I'm going to be fine. Like, what I want out of my fitness, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the other thing, is like, why are we working out? Why are we, what are you training for?
Mm-hmm.
Or who are you training for?
Mm-hmm.
Those are big things. Like, are you training for social media? For a post? Are you training for longevity so you can be healthy 70-year-old grandmother? Are you training because you have you're going to fire academy soon? So there's a lot of understandings of like trying to figure out what your path is and your why.
Mm-hmm.
And I still really feel like people forget to laugh a lot at their quote unquote failures and mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also that, I don't know, you got to like stop seeing the world from a viewpoint of your own like misplaced personal cravings. Like, are you doing this because you're addicted? Is this an addiction? Is this an addiction?
Right.
Or a celebration?
So true. Because I know, like, I was addicted. Like, I thought I was choosing to go to the gym, but I couldn't even there. I mean, I couldn't take a day off. I couldn't go see my family on Christmas Day because I had to go get my workout in. You know?
That's an addiction. Yep.
Yeah, it controlled me 100%.
It says it right there behind you.
Oh yeah, that's why. Exactly. But exactly. But yeah, it's funny because you think that you're the one in control, and that's where you end up trapping yourself. And yeah, it just became a completely different. I became a slave to the gym, and I feel like a lot of people are kind of get to that point because they think that's what it takes in order to almost like look good, because most of the women that are going to be on here, they just want to look good, but they want a life with more freedom. They want to live more, but they are so like just trained to have to go to the gym and make it a chore and all of that. So,
but that part, let's just say you go to the gym for an hour. That's just 1/24 of your day.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tiny, tiny little fraction. But how much of your personal identity and self-worth is put on that? It's the rest of the day, right? It's also, are you happy?
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We do not have time to waste not being happy. That's it. This is it. Enjoy the moment. Savor the heck out of it. Like, try and remember it. That's another, like, try to, like, the things that you're doing, try to remember them. Like 3 months ago on a Tuesday, name something you did on a Tuesday. Right?
Yeah, no way.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying I remember every day, but I tried to like have that type of intention.
Oh, interesting. Really living your life to the fullest. Yeah.
Just, but even the fullest, right? To me, the fullest is being completely in the moment and happy and satisfied with what you have. Not what you need, not what money can buy. This can be completely happy with what you have in the moment. That makes me feel wealthy and rich. I can look at over someone that's might be financially well off, but if I see them there and they're completely like stressed out and unhappy, then who's really the successful one?
Yeah, so true. So true.
You don't see a moving truck behind a hearse. Same.
Yeah, but I can relate to that because like I was trying to podium and win things and be the best, and it seemed like the harder I tried, the more unhappy I got. You know, didn't matter how I looked, I had this emptiness inside me because I was working so hard thinking that was going to get me somewhere.
So what'd you learn?
Oh man, I learned so much. You know what I learned is that the most important thing to me is peace and freedom. Like having a sense of and I can carry that anywhere I go because I can create it within me. You know, it's all, I create everything around me. So that has been my new important thing. And out of that reason, and out of that, I eat better. I have better relationships. I have better connections. I'm more successful. Everything has changed when it wasn't about winning or working harder.
Yep. And you know what's funny about that? You're just talking about a recreational weekend competition.
To me, it was everything, but yeah.
That's the thing that always cracked me up. It's just a weekend recreational competition that you pay for so you can go stand on a wooden box and someone can tell you how special you are.
Yeah. And then it's never enough because you got to do it again. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm not saying there's not a place for it. It's just that you have to have that self-awareness so you can self-regulate and have a solution for the issues that come along with it.
Like what issues?
Well, like the stress, the drive, the need to feel like you need to be at the gym every 7 days a week, to feel that you need to miss other important milestones in your life, and to be so stressed out that you forget to enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's one interesting thing that Ben Bergeron has done with Katrin, like having like to be at that high level competition mode all the time, but then also being able to mix in the mindset stuff and the understanding the how important relaxation is. And I'm not around them like personally, but from what I've read and what I've seen and stuff, it seems like he's doing a better job than others. But even still, we're talking about such a high level of competition that's like 0.01%, right? But they're the ones that we see the most of. But even still, okay, let's just say you're third place at the CrossFit Games. Are you happy? Like, would you rather get third place at the CrossFit Games or be happy? I'm not saying the third place person isn't, but it's just a consideration.
Right. Yeah. And I think people almost think that, they think that chasing that is going to bring them the happiness. That the body will bring them the happiness. The podium will bring them the happiness.
Yeah. And that's where that happiness isn't seeking more. It's being able to enjoy less. Because there's always more.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, I think even within CrossFit workouts, I really feel like there should be some mindfulness components of it. But even on your 400-meter run, like you should be able to describe a few things that you saw.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, something simple like that.
Yeah.
Or describe something you heard. Because there's so much awesome stuff out there.
Yeah.
Instead of just staring at the pavement,
Or the clock.
puffing and puffing and missing all the beautiful things around you.
Yeah.
There's a line that I always say, and it's from one of my favorite books, Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And it says, there are no ordinary moments.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So I say those lines a lot, that health is wealth, which I can completely dive into each one of these, and that vulnerability is strength. Took a while and still does for people to understand what I mean by that. But I think you have to have absolute vulnerability to have freedom and strength. That's where the real strength of a warrior.
Okay, so yeah, what do you mean by the vulnerability?
Well, you're a good example. Let's just say you kept all this stuff inside you. Is that empowering? Is that strength? Like hiding?
All this. Oh.
Yeah, all the feelings you have about the stuff you've been through, and like your vulnerability and coming out and saying the stuff that you've said has empowered you and brought strength to other people. And it started this whole thing.
Yeah.
Instead of bottling up and trying to keep a stiff upper lip and be stoic.
Right.
Which to me is that's a cultural thing that people have forgotten, that weren't taught. Like I'm sure like your dad and my dad, that's what they were taught. That was the culture that was bestowed upon them that they never broke out of. That doesn't mean you don't feel. I'm not saying it doesn't mean you don't feel things. It doesn't mean you don't cry. It doesn't mean you're not honest. It doesn't mean you come out with being honest with yourself, which is the most important. You still do those things. It just doesn't drive the car. We all have emotions. We all have jealousy, anger, hate, love, envy, all that stuff. Just let's go ahead and keep gratitude in the driver's seat. Jealousy can sit in the back seat and cry all he wants to, but he doesn't need to drive. I think there's another thing, another piece here of our expectations and reality.
Yeah.
And the further those are apart is where a lot of anger and resentment and grief comes in. And when something happens and those two things are further apart, you have two choices: to accept or resent. You can accept what happened, or you can resent what happened.
Yeah. One allows you to move forward.
Yeah, resentment doesn't help. How does you being angry and bitter and complaining all the time do anything for anybody? Let's say you have plans for a picnic and it rains. You can resent the rain all you want and be upset and sad about how your picnic is ruined. Or you can accept it. Yeah, you know what? It's raining out. That's awesome. All these plants and everything need some water anyways. That's how plants grow. And washes away all this dirt and everything. What opportunity do we have now to still get together and have a good time?
Yeah.
Hey, let's have a picnic in the car. Oh, that's awesome. We can play music. That's hilarious. There we go. Or in the garage. I don't know. There's all kinds of other ways you can have fun and enjoy company. But that's what a picnic is, right? You're trying to enjoy yourselves with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, seeing everything as an opportunity.
So we're coming up to the end here. What would you say, you know, based off everything, because you're like a wealth of knowledge, man. And, you know, what do you feel like is the one thing that sort of, you know, put you on this path that you started to appreciate more and look at things in a completely different light? Like, what is the one thing that you did that others can start doing now to start going on the same path so that they can start to live a more fulfilled life?
Well, a couple of things come up in my head. There is it's like a gratitude for your senses practice.
Okay.
Like one big thing that launched me recently, and this is a bigger piece, but my first son and like my dad's first grandson or grandkid was my first son was born in the same week that my dad died. So I had a complete huge lesson in life and death all at the same time.
Remember that podcast? I think you did one, or you talked about that in detail.
Yeah, episode 1 was for dad. So that has been that type of feeling and experience. Obviously, I think is going to change a person, and I chose to use it for the best that I could, and see it as an opportunity, and not bottle everything up inside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where part of that vulnerability is strength thing, because I wasn't always coming out with how I felt and what my feelings were, what my thoughts were. I was more restricted on social media. I was way more of that stoic, kept to myself, quiet person.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad started writing to his grandson. And then one morning my mom calls and is apologizing to me. And she's calling not to apologize that my dad died. She's calling to apologize that he didn't finish writing. So he was 2 paragraphs in, was coughing up blood on the iPad that he was writing on, and died. And so that type of, and it was all information I didn't know about him, which is like, made me mad, because he was a fantastic writer and I didn't know it until it was too late. But I've since like forgiven him for sure. I don't hold on to that grudge, but I've forgiven him, but I use that now to be how I am. And it's why I have a podcast. It's why I write on my social media the way I do. It's why I have the intention the way I do, because, you know, you never like, you might not have an opportunity to be a grandparent. You might not have the opportunity to be a parent. You might not have the opportunity to come back from the store that you just drove to. So having that type of mindfulness, you'll see on my social media, I have that, the tulip, the skull, and the hourglass.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't know if you can see it. It's all like right back there.
Oh yeah.
Is from the Latin saying memento mori, and that is remember that you will die. And it's not that morbid, but just like remember to really enjoy the moment and enjoy everything. Enjoy, to me, it's also enjoy your senses, enjoy your ability to see. You can hear things, you can feel things, you can taste things, and finding gratitude and love in all of those amazing gifts, because they're not just given to everybody, and they can be taken away really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So that type of practice keeps me centered way more than what the clock says in a workout that I did one day out of 365 days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if it's way slow, it's okay. It doesn't define who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. That's a big one. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's also okay to eat some ice cream once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's okay. That's another thing to remind, like that for food. And I know you've talked about this, is to really remember not to make food stressful.
Mm-hmm.
don't forget to enjoy every bite of your food. Like, have some mindful eating.
Yeah.
Because that type of stress, monitoring your stress is what helps you be healthy. Not only the food you eat or the workout you do. You got to take care of your stress levels.
Yeah. And I think that, I really think that gratitude, I mean, I'm not sure like how much, you know, you talk about like, or I mean, how much you believe in like energy and like vibrations and stuff. But, you know, if you're always in that gratitude state, that puts you on a completely different level of a vibration basically. And you're not going to be sort of searching for using food to soothe you, because you're already at that level. You're already like full of love, and you're just naturally going to want to move more and eat better and be just, yeah, like enjoy your food more, regardless if it's a salad or ice cream, and not stress so much.
Celebrate it. Celebrate your workout. You get to go for a run, like it's a celebration. Go celebrate. You can move. If you can't run, walk. Enjoy your walk.
Awesome, dude.
Enjoy the process of eating. Enjoy the ability to hug your loved one.
Enjoy everything. Gratitude. Practice gratitude.
Even hugging someone now is like a weird thing.
Yeah.
like so having the ability to hug someone is like awesome.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
you're so right.
Like you're actually bringing your hearts closer together. It's I don't know. And we carry a lot of stuff in our, I don't know if you see, but we carry a lot of insecurity and stress and love and everything in our rib cage. And that's another component of doing breath work. It really helps cope with and release grief. Especially to get into that Wim Hof breathing stuff.
Awesome. Sweet, Scott. So that's been super, you're just like so interesting to listen to. You got a lot of different, you know, angles on things. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is just practice gratitude, you know, and how powerful that can be. It just shifts everything. And it can happen in an instant. So, and it's something that can be trained, just like you train your body. So it's just, you know, you're just training your mind to think in a completely different way, which is something we're all good at, pretty much. All the CrossFitters are. So this has been awesome. Where can people follow you and, you know, hear your podcast? It's kind of just, where can they get in touch with you?
Probably the best one is at Scott McGhee.
Okay.
On Instagram. And also at the Sisu Way. And SISU Way. And the podcast at Sisu Way is on most of those platforms. And I try to really, you know, I don't know if you can tell, but those episodes are very deeply thought out and have deep intention to each one. Like those episodes take a lot out of me. Like time-wise, emotion-wise. Yeah, I pour myself into them, especially when there's guests. Like I really want to make sure I give them my full attention and my full respect, and what the story I want to tell to them and bring out of them, I also respect their loved ones and their kids and everything that are someday going to find that. It's not just an episode.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, awesome, Scott. You're such a great leader, and I just everybody should be checking out his podcast and hearing out all the amazing stuff you say. And you know, I started listening to you years ago, and it just was that spark, you know, that, or like that thing that just kind of started me on that journey a little bit. So thank you for everything that you do, and thanks for being here.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
No problem.